Dr. Basem, thank you very much for joining our show. Now, 1 year after the so-called Al-Aqsa flood operation on October the 7th, what did you set out to achieve, and how far have those actual objectives been realized?
Thank you very much for inviting me to talk to you and to your audience. I think Palestinians were suffering of a racist colonial occupation for 75 years, and Gazans in particular, added to this occupation, they were suffering of a 17 years suffocating siege. At the same time, for the last 2-3 years, there were declared plans from the Israeli government adopted, and finances and budgets were allocated to implement these plans, including the total control of Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Judaization of Jerusalem, the annexation of the West Bank, and keeping Gaza separated. And then the final plan is to integrate Israel in the region without solving the Palestinian question. All these motivations were behind the step which we consider as an act of defense. Therefore, taking in consideration all these motivations, we think that we believe that we were able, if not to stop all these deteriorations in the Palestinian question, but at least to make it difficult, or to prevent it to be implemented as the Israelis see. Okay. Here I have to say that we are aware that it is not an easy task, and the prices could be very high, but we have no choice other than to stand up, to defend our cause, to defend our people, to defend our holy places. Otherwise, the plan was to wipe out totally the Palestinian question from the regional table and from the international arena.
Okay, so let me then ask you, what did you expect would be the reaction of the world to what was a very brutal attack on October the 7th?
Unfortunately, we are really disappointed from the response of the international community, especially the Western powers, to observe a daily genocide committed live on air, with clear declaration from the Israeli side and clear intentions to commit a genocide, and to keep silent and to allow the Israelis to blatantly violate the international law. I think this was disappointing. We were expecting that the international community will move to stop this genocide, to stop this aggression, and to move towards implementation of all international resolutions regarding the Palestinian question, and giving the Palestinians their genuine rights of an independent state, an independent self-sovereign state, the right of return, and self-sovereignty.
Dr. Naim, according to reports, Hamas trained extensively for quite a while before the actual attack was launched, even a couple of years, with a number of other Palestinian armed factions. And I think 5 groups joined Hamas on October the 7th to launch the attack into Israel. How much influence did Hamas have on those other groups once that attack was launched? How much could they, control the behavior of the other groups?
Hamas is a Palestinian liberation movement, and yes, we have prepared ourselves for years for this act of defense, because again, we are people under occupation for 75 years. Palestinians have offered a hand for a political solution for decades, since 1993, after signing the Oslo Agreement. All these attempts to solve this conflict politically were undermined by the Israelis, and it was declared goal by Benjamin Netanyahu to sabotage this so-called political solution of the Palestinian question. Therefore, yes, we believe that it was no other choice than to stand up and to fight back and to resist the occupation. Based on this, we have called all other factions, including Fatah, to join us for any action to defend our cause, to defend our people, to defend our holy places. Out of this wide arena of Palestinian factions, there are some Palestinian factions who joined this goal and who was part of these activities. And we believe that it is not about the influence of Hamas. It is more about that these factions strongly believe that this is the only way to bring the Palestinian cause back on the table, to knock the doors of this biggest open air prison, especially in Gaza, and to get the attention or to draw the attention of the international community towards our just cause.
Now, Dr. Naim, when you say that the Israelis are not looking for peace and that you're looking to make peace yourselves, the argument that Israel keeps throwing back is that Hamas has stated very clearly that its goal is the elimination of Israel. So Israel can always throw that back at you and say, well, we can't have peace with a group that looks for our destruction.
First of all, Hamas has in 2017 stated or declared its position in its political document that we are ready if all Palestinians accept a state on 67 borders, an independent self-sovereign state on 67 borders with Jerusalem as a capital, and preserving the right of return. We are ready to cooperate, and we are not planning to hinder or to prevent such a political solution, and we will join this solution. This is on one side, but on one side, Hamas is talking loudly that we are for a political solution if it is feasible. On the other hand, you have to remember that 1996, in the first meeting between Benjamin Netanyahu as a prime minister and Yasser Arafat at that time, he declared his position that he is going to undermine the so-called two-state solution or political solution and sabotage any political vision. But what is more important, it is not about Hamas. It is more about the other side. I think we have witnessed a few months ago that Netanyahu in front of the UN General Assembly, this was in September before October 7th, and recently also in September 2024, he declared his position that between the river and the sea there will be no political entity except Israel, and he is planning not only to contain or to confine the conflict to the Palestinian issue, but he is planning to change the whole map of the Middle East. Therefore, again, it is not about the Palestinian position. PLO, which is representing the whole Palestinians, has taken a clear stance toward the conflict, but this was undermined. Yasser Arafat was assassinated. After that, the West Bank, 80%, I mean Area A, Area B, and Area C was annexed. Palestinians in East Jerusalem are expelled forcefully, as we witness every day. The holy places, I mean Al-Aqsa Mosque in particular, they are planning and they are declaring these goals. They are planning to control the mosque, to take it over, to destroy it. I can give you only one number, that between in 2023, 55,000 extremist Jews stormed the mosque, performed all prayers, and planned to enter the mosque and to change the status quo against international law and against the treaties between Israel and Jordan. Therefore, again, it is not about a political party on the Palestinian side. It is about the position of the other side, which is clear.
Understood. But Dr. Naim, what I'm saying is that if the argument that Israel always throws out is that Hamas cannot be a partner in peace because it's got a stated goal of destroying Israel, surely if Hamas officially says we do not have that goal of the elimination of Israel, that would change the dynamic and the relationship in terms of trying to achieve a peace.
Again, what should Hamas do more than to declare its official goal in its political document 2017 by talking about the acceptance of Hamas of a common ground between all Palestinians, which means if we have the chance to have a Palestinian state, an independent, self-sovereign state on 60 border with Jerusalem as a capital, preserving the right of return, that we will cooperate in this, we will be part of this. But again, on Gaza, you have Hamas, you have October 7th, you have the resistance. In the West Bank, you have the PLO leadership, you have the PA, the Palestinian National Authority. What is the situation on the other side? Annexation of the West Bank, Judaization of Jerusalem, more than 20,000 Palestinians killed between 2000 and 2023 on checkpoints in their own land, in their houses, burned by extremists. What is, again, on the other side, we have a Palestinian partner who is ready to go ahead for this solution.
So,
but what is the response from the Israeli side? Declaring...
no, sorry, Dr. Naim. No, I realize.
2017 or 18, he has declared... Yes.
No, sir, I know you've gone over those issues. I was really just looking to see if Hamas would officially make its position, one which says we no longer look for the destruction of Israel, and then perhaps Israel has less of an argument against it. But let me ask you this. Did you believe that taking hostages would at least provide you more protection or, preserve the protection of the fighters against Israel's response? And perhaps that hasn't happened. The other thing is, obviously, there are families now arguing with the Israeli government for the return of their hostages. I spoke to one of them. They're desperate for news about the hostages. What information can you tell me about the condition of the remaining hostages after 1 year in captivity?
First of all, I want to reject this kind of arguments because it is part of the Israeli propaganda that we have captured Israelis in order to protect ourselves or our fighters. No, we have negotiated with Israelis for years and years to get our freedom fighters, our heroes behind bars in Israeli jails, to get them free. Nael Barghouti is now for more than 44 years in jail. And like Nael, there are a lot of Palestinian leaders and fighters behind Israeli jails, but we have failed. And the international community have also failed to help Palestinians to get their prisoners free. Therefore, the main goal of capturing Israelis, I'm talking about soldiers, is how to get our prisoners free. We have offered from day one, after October 7th, to have a serious prisoner exchange to release all prisoners, all captured Israelis, and to get all our prisoners free. But Israel, from day one, has rejected all these proposals and have declared 3 goals: to crush Hamas, to evacuate Gaza Strip from its people, and to retrieve the captured Israelis forcefully. Therefore, we have also accepted at least 2-3 times different proposals from the mediators, and each time these proposals, which was accepted publicly and praised by the mediators and by the Americans, was sabotaged by Netanyahu and his racist government, either by committing new massacres or assassination of the top negotiator, or by adding a new condition like what he has did in the last negotiated deal in July 2nd. We are ready to go for implementing this negotiated deal, which, by the way, this negotiated deal of July 2nd, the core of this negotiated deal is an Israeli paper, which was adopted by Joe Biden, and we have welcomed this Joe Biden proposal. Then it has become the UN Security Council resolution, and we have also welcomed this. Therefore, we are ready to go immediately for solving the whole issue by going for implementation of this broker deal.
Okay. Dr. Naim, can I ask you just for an update on the condition of the current remaining hostages? What sort of state are they in? What sort of health, what sort of conditions are they being held in?
I have no details, but what I am sure of that these captured Israelis are suffering like our people from the continuous Israeli bombardment. Few months ago, the spokesperson of Al-Qassam Brigade have clearly stated that at least 80 of these captured Israelis were killed by Israeli bombardment, and this was also emphasized or confirmed by all those Israeli prisoners released along the last few months, that most of the time they were scared not by the guards from Al-Qassam, but mainly by the Israeli bombardment, or to be shot directly by Israeli soldiers, like what happened in Shijaiya neighborhood or in Nusayrat by the attempt to rescue some of the captured Israelis. They have rescued 4, but at the same time they have killed 3 others and killed more than 250 Palestinians. Therefore, I cannot give you now, because of the very complicated situation on the ground. They are in different areas by different groups. Exact numbers and exact or details about their situation now on the ground.
12 months on, it's obviously not only the Israelis who suffered. More than 40,000 Palestinians have been killed, more than 100,000 injured in the Israeli response, which the attack from Hamas provoked. And much of Gaza is now reduced to rubble, more than 70% of the buildings reduced to rubble. So while you've refocused the world's attention on the plight of the Palestinians, haven't you also now contributed more to their suffering through that action?
First of all, it was not provoked by Hamas. We were provoked for 7 years by a racist Israeli occupation. We were for 17 years by suffering of a suffocating siege. By the way, Palestinians along the 75 years or along the 57 years after 1967 occupation, they were not enjoying peace and prosperity and security. We were killed on a daily basis. Our economy was totally undermined. We were suffering, especially I am a Gazan. I left Gaza a few days before October 7th, and I was the Minister of Health. We were denied food and medicine and electricity, freedom of travel, including patients who were seeking to leave Gaza Strip for treatment abroad. Therefore, we haven't provoked anyone. We stand up to fight back, to open the doors of this biggest open-air bruiser, as even some Israelis have described. Second, do you believe that we should be accused for all what has happened along this year because someone on the other side have decided to go against international law and international humanitarian law and to smash not only the Palestinian but also international humanitarian law under the Israeli bulldozers? I don't think that ICJ, the International Justice Court, have described what's happening there as a genocide to accuse Palestinians of this. If you decide to commit a genocide, I think this is not the fault or the mistake of the victim, that he was accidentally, or he was there and he was attacked by the enemy. Again, we stand up to defend ourselves, to defend our family, to defend the future of our children, to defend our holy places and the future of our just cause. Yes, we know that we have paid a lot of price, but this is because of the failure of the international community to secure a just cause for the Palestinian question. This is the crime of the Israeli side, who have publicly declared their goals to, once one of them have called to throw an atomic bomb against the Palestinians. I don't think that this is the fault of Palestinians when someone decide to do it. Again, what we still consider it a political conflict. We are looking for a political solution. From day one, we have handed over to the mediators and to the Americans and other countries that we have a roadmap of 3 phases. Phase 1 is to stop this aggression, to reach a deal of prisoner exchange, and to rebuild Gaza, or to resuscitate the people inside Gaza Strip, to go for a Palestinian unity, to form a Palestinian national unity government representing all Palestinians, and thirdly, to go for a political solution based on the international law and international resolution toward the Palestinian cause. I think from day one, we were ready to go for a political solution. But again, because of the complicit of the international community, mainly in the West, in particular the Americans, who have supplied the Israelis along these months by hundreds of thousands of tons of explosive materials and weapons, by billions of dollars, by by giving them or securing them a political umbrella, using the veto at least 4 times in the Security Council. And in parallel to this, they talk about an attempt to reach a ceasefire, but all the time they were sure that Netanyahu is not planning at any time to reach a ceasefire.
Well, the complication, Dr. Naim, of course, is that, as you stated, one of the intentions that Israel has made very clear is it wants to wipe out Hamas completely. How close are they, having taken key people out, people like Ismail Haniyeh, who's moderating for peace, how close is Hamas to being totally wiped out as a fighting force?
First of all, today, unfortunately, the international media, mainly mainstream media, they portray this conflict as if it is between Hamas and Israel. It is not between Hamas and Israel. It is between Palestinians who are fighting now for more than 100 years for their dignity and freedom, and the colonial occupation. Now they have the problem with Hamas. 20 years ago it was with Fatah. 40, 50 years ago it was with the PFLP. Therefore, it is not about Hamas. They can crush Hamas. They can smash Hamas if they are able to do it. But again, they will face the same problem in 10, 15 years, because they will create a new generation of Palestinians who are more committed to fight and to struggle for their freedom and dignity, and to secure a better future for our children. How much they are near to reach this goal, I think he has used all what he can, especially at the beginning, to crush Hamas and to crush the resistance and to kick out Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. After 1 year, we can see that Hamas is still fighting. Hamas is still in control and command. Hamas fighters on the ground are in a very good shape. Maybe you have watched, and the audience have watched, a video of a very complicated military operation in the eastern part of Rafah, near the borders, where Hamas fighters were able to attack Israeli bulldozers and Israeli Merkava tanks, and to kill a lot of Israeli and wound a lot of Israeli soldiers. I am talking about an area which is totally controlled on the ground, from the sea and from the air, by the Israelis now for at least 4 or 5 months. Again, Hamas is still in a very good shape, and all other factions who are participating in this resistance are in a very good shape. They are still in control and command, and I'm sure after 1 year, Israel has failed to achieve any of its 3 declared goals.
If Hamas's total elimination is part of the mission of Israel, how much in danger are you? You're a member of Hamas. Is your life threatened?
Look, anyone who is standing up to fight against such a colonial, very aggressive, very brutal enemy, to fight for freedom and dignity of his own people, he has to keep in mind and to put in his calculation that this was one of the scenarios. We are praying for Allah for years to end our life as martyrs and freedom on this path of this noble path. Therefore, yes, this is a chance. But at the end, the decision how my life will be ended and when it will be ended, this is the decision of Allah. It is not by Netanyahu or his government. But if it will happen, again, this is part of our calculations. And I have to tell you and the audience that if you study all the assassinations along the 40 years of Hamas life, Each time Hamas, after the assassination of some of its leaders, starting from, by Sheikh Yassin and Dr. Rantisi, each time Hamas become more and more stronger. Hamas in 1987 started by throwing stones. Today Hamas is able to knock down Merkava 4 and to sniper Israeli, very sophisticated Israeli soldiers. Therefore, Hamas always become more stronger after assassinating its leaders.
Dr. Naim, how encouraged are you by what seems to be cracks in the relationship between the Western allies of Israel and Israel's leadership? It seems, for example, President Macron of France calling for embargo of weapons, and other countries also expressing concern that there may be something of a gap now between the Israelis and their allies. How does that encourage you, or how do you regard that?
We observe all these declarations and steps as a positive step in the right direction. But at the end, we believe that all these declarations are tactical declaration. But when it comes to the strategic issue of this conflict, there is no gaps and there is no dispute between the Israelis and their allies in the West. We can take it very serious, or we can take it serious, I mean such steps, if we see the Western allies go to the Security Council to implement the international resolutions regarding the ceasefire agreement, regarding the reunification of the Palestinian territories, to undermine all these settlements activities, and finally to give the Palestinians their own genuine rights of an independent, self-sovereign state, and to guarantee the right of return for all Palestinians who were displaced forcefully in 1948 by the Israelis. Therefore, it is a tactical move, but when it comes to the core issues, when it comes to the strategic questions of this colonial occupation, we don't see a serious gap or a serious dispute between the two parties.
So what impact has Israel's focus on Hezbollah and its actions in Beirut and Lebanon in general? What impact has that had on what's happening with Hamas and its confrontation with Israel?
I think this has impact on two levels. One, they have attacked Hamas now for the last few months. They have attacked Hezbollah for the last few months in order to disengage Hezbollah from supporting Hamas or the resistance in the Gaza Strip, to make it easier for them to isolate the resistance in Gaza and to isolate the Gaza Strip, and to give them more chance to crush Hamas or the resistance to reach their declared goals. But they have failed up to the last moment before assassinating Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, when he said clearly in his last speech that we are going to continue our unwavering support for the resistance in Gaza, and a ceasefire agreement has to start first in Gaza Strip.
Okay.
On the other level, I have to say that these are plans hidden now, or declared, not hidden, for years by the Israelis, that they are planning to attack Hezbollah. They are calling Hezbollah to move northern of Litani River and to disarm the Hezbollah inside Lebanon. I think this is Netanyahu, as I said earlier, he declared these goals in front of the UN General Assembly. He is going to change the maps of the Mediterranean, of the Middle East. It is not only about Lebanon. In maybe in few days or weeks, we might see the same thing in Yemen, in Iraq, in Syria, in Iran.
Yeah. Dr. Naim, as we're almost out of time, I do want to just touch as a final thought on what you believe. You've talked about the right of return and the 67 borders and so on, but what are the red lines for Hamas on any post-war settlement with the Israelis? What are the absolute no-nos that you won't allow?
you are talking about the current conflict or generally about the conflict?
Right now, what's going on right now? If there's, if this conflict was to end, what are the red lines that you are setting to say we will not negotiate unless these particular issues are met for this current conflict?
We are committed to the UN Security Council resolutions, which is clearly talking about permanent ceasefire, total withdrawal of the Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, no geographical or demographic changes inside the Gaza Strip, and lifting the siege and rebuilding of the Gaza Strip. These main elements are not negotiable.
All right, Dr. Basem Naim, thank you very much for your time, sir.